We're currently in the last week of the first month of our brand new year, and a lot of people quietly hoped something would finally feel different by now. We get it. Absolutely. They hoped that the tension would ease, that the distance between us would shrink, and that the same conversations wouldn't keep ending in the same way. But here we are, still caring, still trying, and still wondering why it feels so hard to actually get through to each other. And if that sounds familiar, I just want you to know you're not alone. There are many of us in the same place. We're living in a time where many people feel stretched, unsettled, and on edge, even if they can't quite share why. When the world feels unsafe to us and our nervous systems are frayed and overloaded, our relationships will feel the impact first. Most couples think that their problem is communication. In times like this, they need to talk things through, explain it better, gather more evidence and proof, search for the right words, escalate the important points. But what if the real issue isn't any of this? It's more about the conflict actually happening inside of you long before the words even come out of your mouth. I'm Stacey Bartley, relationship mentor, and this is Love Shack Live. And I'm joined by my co-host and lover Tom and our daughter Brooke. This podcast is for the people standing at a relationship's crossroads, people who still care deeply but are exhausted by the same patterns, interactions, but don't want to lose something meaningful just because no one ever taught them the skills necessary to move through it. Today, we're talking about the skill that quietly determines whether conversations create connection or conflict. It's the skill that has the power to change everything once you understand it. The skill that is most overlooked and is the foundation to every other relationship skill that you can possibly learn. And that skill is emotional regulation, aka emotional weightlifting. It's the ability to do an emotional push-up. It's learning how to hold emotional tension, and it can change the entire direction of your relationship. If you've ever thought, why do we keep ending here? Well, stay with us because you're going to understand why.
Hey, thank you for coming. Welcome to the Love Shack.
By this point in the year, most people have a pretty clear sense of whether things are actually improving or not. So what does every day feel like for you right now? I just want to ask you, listener, let's just do a check-in and assessment here. Where are we at? Almost 30 days in. What are you noticing? How are your conversations going? How quickly does emotional tension build and blow up? How easy or hard is it to stay connected when something uncomfortable comes up and emotions begin running high? And for the many couples, the honest answer doesn't feel much different, actually. And that's got to be disappointing.
Or maybe feels worse,
Yeah. That can be so discouraging in moments like this, especially when we're still showing up, still doing our best, still trying, and still hoping for this better experience. What often gets missed here is this. When progress stalls, it's usually not because we don't care or love enough, and it's rarely because you haven't tried hard enough. More often, it means you've reached the edge of what you know and are bumping into the need for better understanding and better skills. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about how it is that we need to actually flip it on its end, because it's not better communication you need. It's actually more regulation that you need. We really are living in an unprecedented time where so many of us don't feel safe and supported. And our future feels so uncertain in so many ways. Many people are walking around with their nervous systems on high alert. And it shows. And when our personal safety feels shaky, relationships will feel it first. I'm going to bring that home to the places that I love. And I'm going to often take it out on the people that I love the most. I'm not going to do it out in the world. I'm not safe there, but I will do it within the walls of my own home and with the people that I care about the most. Unfortunately, the stress that we're all being asked to carry at this point in time doesn't just disappear in our lives when we walk through the doors of our homes.
I wish it did.
I wish it did too. And how does it show up? I mean, when we just stop for a minute and think about the internal conflict that we're all wrestling with every day, right? It shows up everywhere. It shows up in our tone, our patience, and how quickly that we react. In our words, we say we show up as good as we feel. Mm-hmm. And if I don't feel so good, well, then I'm going to show up not so good.
I had an issue with a family member, and I was sharing about that with my parents before we started this podcast. And we also had a little work meeting. So I was already pretty fired up, crying, telling them how I feel. And then mom too asked me if I could make a change in a spreadsheet. And I got a little hot. And that normally would just be a question that I answered very calmly. My point in sharing this is that if you feel stressed about what's currently happening in the world, which a lot of people do, it's going to make you react in ways, if you're not regulated, if you don't have ways that you know how to regulate, it's going to make you kind of pop off the handle of things that would normally not bother you at all. And that can be pretty problematic in our relationships because normally we can kind of count on the way that our partner is going to respond to us. I feel like the current world events make us respond in ways that are not predictable because no one really knows what's going on in your head except for you unless you share it. So if you're feeling triggered and you're feeling plugged in and you're feeling all of these things, it just adds such a big layer of conflict and like fogginess and cloudiness to your home life, you know?
Well, and all the more reason why the incredible importance, whatever the differences and such are, that we would want our home to be a place where we have the skills and the ability to talk through this, because it all starts in the home, wherever we are. So it really is the very best place we can make a difference for ourselves and for our loved ones, is to create a place where we have the permission and emotional safety to talk through these things and work through them and have differing points of view and still be able to remember communications for one reason and one reason only. What is that, Mrs. Bartley?
Understanding.
We don't have to agree with it, but at least seek to try to understand a differing point of view. That's called civil discourse. That's real practice that's not practiced very often.
And it's a tall ask.
But another problem that's happening now is that even if you're surrounded in a house of people that agree with you, what's happening outside of our doors is so painful and stressful and something that we've never experienced before that it doesn't even matter that the people in your house agree with you because everything is just so triggering. We're kind of at a point now where it's like, what the fuck is happening? Everyone's triggered. Everyone's upset. Even if you voted for the same person, it doesn't even really matter.
That's why this episode on emotional regulation that Stacey mentioned is like, it's the bedrock. It really is. Yeah. And it's needed by all of us to do the best we can to demonstrate this out in our world. It's the 100th monkey. It's really, really important.
The thing, as we're talking about our own personal experience, and that becomes all consuming, what we're really talking about here is emotional capacity. And we all have an emotional capacity. It's amazing how in our logic, we think we're just supposed to be able to take on more and more and more and more. And all the stimulation that's going on and all of the challenges that we see and all the places that we're unsure of and all the unknown that we're being faced and called upon to navigate. You know, there's a capacity in regards to what I can take on. And we also don't realize that everybody has their own threshold of emotional capacity. Just because I might be okay with it doesn't mean everybody else in my household is going to be okay with it. And it's really interesting how we get into these logical conversations about, well, I'm okay with it, as though that's supposed to like help you not be okay with it. Or when you're not okay with it, right? Like, I don't feel okay with this. I mean, I'm fine. So what about you?
Mom, too, you said in a social media video a couple weeks ago, and I want to say it here for anyone who hasn't seen it, how you said it would be really great, or I think you said we don't have this, but we should. It would be so nice if every single person had an emotional capacity meter on their forehead so we could know if we were approaching the limit, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe you could link to that video, Brooke, in the show notes.
Because there's just no way for us to know unless we ask. And I feel like some people who are not as good at translating their thoughts and feelings to a language that we can understand, sometimes they don't know that they're at their limit because they're just not familiar with what that feels like.
Well, I think a lot of us don't even realize that there is a limit
Yeah.
I think about the many clients that we work with, and whether professionally they're driving themselves really hard, they're flying around the country trying to take care of their families, have a side gig that they're trying to do, plus a corporate job, plus come home, help the wife. And then there's the wife that's been home with the kids all day and they want to help. And, they start doing chores or things that are just completely unhelpful. And the overstimulation outside of everything that's going on in the world is like, I'm going to lose it. And we all as a human being can relate to that. But then I feel bad about that because I didn't know to disclose. I can ask for help here, or I can disclose that I'm there if I have an awareness that I really do have a capacity and that there's no reason to feel ashamed or guilty about that we all have a threshold. To me, in my mind, it would be like feeling guilty or bad because you can do 500 pounds, but I can only do 50. Right. So it's just that we're not in the same place at the same time. And that is so true across the board in our relationships with each other emotionally. So we have a physical capacity we call endurance, physical endurance. And then we have an emotional capacity, which is called resilience, which is the ability to actually rebound from challenging things. It's the ability to actually also have the strength to be patient, to hold the tension of emotion. And some of us can take on more than others, and that's very human of us. And so again, going back to what I was saying a few minutes ago, it doesn't really do much for us when we start saying, well, I'm okay. I don't know what you're saying, but I can't. Either because I don't know how, or I haven't built up to that threshold yet. And I could work out all day long and I would probably never be able to bench press 500 pounds or back squat 500 pounds. Even in my own makeup, I'm going to have a capacity there, even when I do the very best that I know how and develop the strength and resiliency. So I think it's just really important as we step into this conversation about emotional weightlifting that honor that capacity and not be embarrassed or ashamed of it, but actually be aware of it. Because when I am, then I can disclose it and I can ask for help and support in these places and spaces.
You could actually be speaking with a person who has a similar capacity to you. Like you both could have a pretty high capacity emotionally, but one of you had a really stressful day and the other one had a very relaxing day, So
Good
one
point.
of you had already reached capacity before the conversation began,
Right.
But you still have to honor that. Well, maybe we could wait till tomorrow or next week,
That's an important thing. We've talked about that in several podcasts, but there is a window of tolerance or that capacity that we all have. And so often when we're not aware of it or we don't know how to regulate ourselves, it may be regulation, to your point, Brooke, is simply disclosing, I'm not in a place to take on these bigger things today. Maybe that is my emotional push-up, just disclosing that because I'm aware of it for myself, right?
Yeah.
There's many times I'll come in and say, I'm not fit for company right now. It's kind of like the caution tape because I'm aware of where I am. So I've got to take some time. I've got to go for a walk. I've got to just sit, not talk for a minute. I've got to just be still.
Well, even earlier today, Stacey and I were each doing different things in our own respective places where we work out of our house. And I was just coming through the kitchen, heading back to my part of the house where I work. And Stacey said, I just need a few minutes of your time. I could tell it was very important for her. I said, okay, so what do you need, sweetie? I gotcha. So it can be literally that simple, but that important,
You were talking to me about just a series of we need to buy more granola and hey, look at, it was just little incidental things. And he's unaware that I'm trying to write an email and respond to something that is really taking a lot of focus. And I said, honey, please, you've got to stop talking for a minute and then I'll hear what you want to say. I got to write this email. Oh, okay. I didn't know that you were writing that email. I'm just yapping anyway.
Even though proper amount of granola in the house is crucially important. I just might add for our listeners, those of you that love granola,
but even that little tiny example, if you guys were not regulated, that could be extremely offensive.
Oh my God.
You, mom too, saying, could you stop talking for a minute? If dad was like feeling, what do you mean? It's my house. I'm going to talk when I want to talk,
Yeah. Or I could have said, would you stop talking? For God's sakes.
Can't you
it's
see that I'm
incessant.
working right now?
I'm trying to get something done here. I'm trying to be productive
Come on,
and you're
man.
not.
Yep.
You're just in the kitchen like screwing around.
Talking about your damn granola.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so it's these skills where we say, hey, this is where I'm at, and disclosing that. Be out of love and respect, not because I'm lashing out. I'm not going to allow myself to lash out at you. And that's the tension. And if we don't stop and take that nanosecond of choice to think about what it is I actually want and to pursue that want, and I'm just going back right now to this morning trying to write an email. And it's getting more and more challenging for me because of my emotional capacity to think about what it is I want to say. And you are, babe. You're just delighted. You're just in la la land talking about the granola and, you're going to take this to so-and-so and mail the package. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh. And it would have been so easy for me to just say, oh my gosh. But I have enough reps in the emotional gym that's not going to give me what I want. What I want is, with great love and respect, I just need a few moments to finish this email. And then, I can be present for you. Number one, I'm not present to what you're talking about. I'm starting to spin up a little bit, and I just need to take a few minutes so that I can really focus on this email. And what I'm talking about here, which I just want to point out, is what it is I'm trying to accomplish, what it is I'm wanting to have happen. And then I'm asking for help about that.
And I think another thing that you would agree with, but you didn't say, is that you don't want to make it so dad never feels like he can ramble in the kitchen again in the future. Like you don't want him to be like, oh, when she's at her computer, I have to shut up. So you can ask for what you want in a nice way so that he doesn't take it as a wound. He just is like, oh, of course. Sorry. I didn't know you were working.
Yeah, exactly. I want you to see that's the conversation. The conversation is that in lots of little ways throughout the day. And what is the impact of that? Well, it's a pleasant experience, even though we're navigating this ebb and flow of our emotional capacity.
Yeah, no, and I'll chime in because I was the receiver of this behavior and request and disclosure. Stacy knows it. I wanted to take something comfort to me back to work. And Stacy knows when that, like I say, honey, you're going to go for a bowl of granola. I know, man, I get excited. I put a banana on there. I mean, it was good living, man, And so it was like, and so no, Stacy, babe, I know, please, no problem. My bad. I didn't even realize I just was chattering away. And so it was received very warmly, even though I know, saying, babe, I can't talk. Like, please, I got to concentrate. But that could have blown up sky high. And we hear it all the time because people that work with us, like, yes, it's again, we say this often. We think if we get the circumstances and who's wrong, none of that really matters. It could be the bowl of granola or it could be the damn car engine just blew up. It really doesn't matter. It's the same emotional regulation that's required at the bedrock of it all. If it's either going to put you into the orbit or you're going to work through it. That's really the bottom line.
So, and I'm going to walk you through some steps here. Okay.
Right.
We'll just stay with this as an example to work with because it's just so prudent. And by the way, it's in that half a second that I'm going to miss my opportunity to make a choice to go one direction or the other. And we all have that choice and we all navigate that choice.
And I think to be fair, that's why it's so challenging because you literally, maybe a half second is generous. It's literally in a nanosecond, good or bad.
And in that nanosecond, what is happening there is tension, emotional tension that is building in us, right?
Yeah.
And we call it all kinds of things, but just get in touch with the tension of it. And then there's a point in time where I don't want to, or I don't have the ability or the capacity to hold that tension any longer. And that's going to be where I'm going to spout off. And so when I feel myself building in that tension place, okay, I have a fraction of a moment to make a choice. And the more aware of it, by the way, I can feel it building. So like the more aware of all of this I am, then the more choice and space I have in order to make choices at what point in time I'm going to disclose it. I really don't want to wait until I'm at the brink and can barely handle it to say something.
Right.
Number one. So we have to create this awareness of this tension in us and where we are in the buildup. And when we first start working with it, we want to err on the side of sooner rather than later, because you're probably far more escalated in the tension than you think you are. Right? You're probably really close to losing it because that's what we've practiced. That's what we know. We just hang on with this tension and then hope for the best. And then we say and do things that sacrifice the emotional safety in our relationships, and it's over. It's done.
And let's just use, like, if you've ever done, like, in the physical world, like you've tried to do a plank, okay? You're in the plank position, whether you're on your elbows or as a push-up. Again, when you first try it, man, you can't hold it very long at all. Like, you get really shaky quick. The same thing would be emotionally. You're not going to have the ability to hold it. But as you get more into practice and you start working with it, then you have a longer ability to hold the physical plank or the emotional plank, that tension. Otherwise, if we don't give us any bandwidth to work with it, we're going to erupt and it's not going to go well. I mean, come on, that's a classic example of how things go sideways. It's just how we're wired as humans.
This developed awareness gives me power of choice. And then in this moment of choice, number one, I'm aware of the tension. So the first thing we need to do is develop a tension of the buildup. I want to err on the side of caution. The next thing I want to realize is in that moment of choice, I need to disclose where I'm at. Hey, you know what? I'm just noticing I'm really spun up. I just need to take a minute, do some things to kind of regather here, and then I'll circle back and we can pick up where we left off. Or I need to ask for some help and support here. And we gave you an example of both. The tension was building when I wanted to write an email. And in the other, I was saying, I really would like your time and attention. I have some really important things I'd like to share with you. So I asked for what I wanted. And that's the key. In that moment of choice, I literally make a choice and a decision about how this is going to potentially go from my participation. If I pursue the thing I'm frustrated about, if that's what comes out of my mouth, you're going to have a fight. We already gave you some examples about that, but let's just revisit it right now. Oh my God, would you just be quiet? I'm trying to write an email over here. Okay. I talked about the don't want part.
Problem. You're focusing on the problem or you're focusing on the solution.
Yep. I call it don't want. This is what I don't want that I'm struggling with. Stop doing that. Stop breathing like that. Don't walk in here like that. Don't look at me like that. I just want you to think about all the times we say, don't do that. So that is us being mired in the don't want. And if I'm going to talk about the don't want, I'm going to escalate. And the person I'm trying to talk with is going to feel attacked. There's no way around it. Okay. And we can justify it with a really great story, but the impact is still the impact, regardless of how you want to justify it. So if I'm going to talk about, as Brooke said, the problem or the don't want part of this, then we're going to create a fight. I'm going to initiate a fight. And unless my partner on the other side has the ability to regulate better than I, then we're going to have a fight and we're off to the races, back and forth, right there. So I've got to focus on the want. What is it I'm needing that would ease this or help me or support me or that you could assist me in doing? What is the want part here? And if I'll pursue the want or the solution, then I'm going to go in that direction emotionally. The flow of the tension is going to go in that way. And guess what? I'm going to feel better. And so is the person that I'm talking to 9 times out of 10. So that's why, hey, I'm needing to really focus here. That's my want. And I want to come back to you in just a minute. I want to hear what you have to say, but I just need a few minutes to finish this up. Can you just be quiet for a minute, please? It was an ask. So I pursued the thing that I want, the outcome that I'm needing. And that's what I want to get really good at. And most of us have 0 files in our brain about what it is we want and where it is we want to go, because all we've ever really been aware of or known to do is to attack the don't want and hold the tension too long. And both of those things are going to take us to the inevitable outcome that we consistently do. And I love that you brought up the emotional plank or the physical plank, because that is so true. To get our head around what it is we're talking about when we talk about the tension, and we were to put this into physical terms, just think about holding a plank. And most of us couldn't hold a physical plank for 30 seconds if we haven't done a plank.
Right.
Like that would be asking a lot.
Yeah.
Sounds like nothing. 30
Yeah.
seconds. Oh, I can.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and try it. Go ahead and give me 30 seconds of a plank, and I guarantee you're going to get 10 seconds in and start going, are we done yet? Are we done yet? Is this about over? Oh my gosh, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Oh my God, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. So in our interactions, when I hear things that I don't resonate with, or I feel attacked, or I'm at my emotional capacity to have or be stepping into these bigger conversations, or even the little ones that are setting me off because I'm way overstimulated, you can start to see it's not malicious. That's usually where we go. It's that I don't know how to handle the tension and I just want to relieve it. I understand physically I can just put my knees down, maybe have a chuckle about the fact that I can only hold 10 seconds when in my mind, logically, I thought I could do 2 minutes. Number one, don't know any other way to alleviate the tension when it becomes too much. So I lose it. I lash out. I react, and then I can overreact because I'm still trying to get that relief. And many times we don't know how to get the relief to the tension that we carry day in and day out and day in and day out. So we're holding this emotionally low grade tension all the time. And most of us right now are carrying more tension than we actually have the capacity to carry. So it doesn't take much for us to lose it. Road rage is a really big thing. Standing in a checkout line, and the clerk is too slow, or the person in front of me has a difficult time pulling out their cash, or their card won't work. And I'm absolutely going. And it's because we don't have a lot of relief for the tension as well. So I think we ought to address that. But what am I really wanting to say? I'm wanting to make sure this is exceptionally clear. What's really difficult about our interactions as human beings is we don't realize we need to be aware of the tension. And we also, when we have that nanosecond of choice, we don't commonly pursue the thing that we want or the thing that would ease the tension. We dive into the thing I don't want, and it's an attack, or we get defensive, or we take it personal, or I make up a narrative. You should already know that I am doing this thing. I mean, duh. Can't you see I'm sitting on the couch trying to write an email? What do you think I'm doing over here? Like, we can become very indignant in these moments. And what we then don't realize is that the emotional impact on our relationships is real and enormous. It's not just about this moment. It's about the next one coming down the experience, coming through the day. And if I had attacked Tom about talking and sharing, do you think that I'm going to experience that version of Tom again for a long time? Probably not. What do you think he's going to do the next time I'm sitting on the couch on my computer? He's going to assume he should keep his mouth shut. And so I lose a whole version and a whole experience of Tom, which just saying that makes me really sad.
Yeah, here's the thing. The moment of change, this is how it's razor thin. So Stacey, all of it, me included, we have that nanosecond of opportunity. Most of us, most of the time, are going to default to banging on what we don't want. So literally the first point of change in any of our behavior is we've got to insert that important pause in a nanosecond. And then literally, instead of defaulting to what we've always done, we have to step into like, okay, this is all happening just so fast. That's why it's so challenging. Maybe let me share what I do want instead of defaulting. I mean, so you just have to appreciate what we're asking and encouraging you to take on, and us included. Like, that's easy to say in a common podcast episode like this, not so easy when it's happening in such amazing fluidity that none of us can even get our arms around sometimes. That's when change happens, though, when you can literally notice it as an observer to your own behavior. That's when you know you're onto something.
Yeah, but there's a whole other layer to this. I feel a lot of our podcast listeners are in, which is where they are wanting to improve and get better at relationships themselves, but their partner isn't yet. So then it's you are the one that's constantly holding the tension and your partner is not.
Yeah.
Because you either can't talk about it, or they'll get offended if you even bring up the idea of holding tension. They'll think you're making it seem like they yell. There's all of that stuff that goes on. So then you kind of get into a point, which is a question that we are going to address a little bit later in the show. But okay, do I have to hold this tension forever? So I just have to be the one that shuts up and never says anything?
Good
That's
point.
how it feels. You're having this very delicate dance of really struggling in your relationship and you have no emotional gas, you know?
It's a great question, and it's surprising the answer. We think that we're doing this for them.
Mm-hmm.
We think that this is why I'm going to hold the tension. I'm going to hold the tension and get really good at this emotional push-up for them. And it's a gift. And I don't feel like right now you deserve that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to do it anymore. If you're going to lose your shit, I'm going to lose my shit.
Yeah, like I'm not getting jack in return. I'm going back to what I don't want. Yeah.
So what we don't realize in this is that you're not doing it for them, actually.
Yeah.
You're doing it for yourself. Yes, you are carrying tension, but you're carrying it for yourself, because if that becomes the case, then think about the confidence builder it builds in me. Think about the strength it builds in me. Think about when an episode happens, I feel really good about my participation and how I showed up. Nobody can take that away from me. I'm probably going to become the person who holds the line in regards to how far this escalates. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be a part of escalation, and I don't want to carry the guilt of participating in it to the very best of my ability. I want to know that I held the tension and I did a really good job, and I didn't say or do anything that I regret. And I cannot tell you how many times in my life that has helped me navigate some very, very difficult and challenging things, even within my own family. That I am skilled enough that I can know without a shadow of a doubt within inside of myself that I did not say what I regretted. I don't have any regrets about what I said and how I showed up. And even though there were some things that are really challenging to experience,
no question,
that gives me an incredible sense of foundation with which to move through it. And the outcome doesn't necessarily become all that important. Of course, I want a good outcome, but if by chance I don't experience a great outcome from the exchange because I can't control another person, at least I feel really good about my part. So I do this for me.
Well, and I was just going to stack on that. I mean, because the greater percentage of people, even when they're a couple or whatever, come to us because we will honor this, and that there's usually just one person typically in a relationship or a marriage or whatever that raises their hand. Most people don't raise their hand at the same times, even when they know they need help. And we say this often: don't underestimate the power of demonstrated different behavior. Even if our special someone or whatever, our spouse, doesn't say much, we can assure you, because we know in our own metrics of the numbers of people that we work for, it does make a difference. Meaning one person stepping in and demonstrating and taking on, like Stacy said, holding the tension, not choosing to engage, it makes a difference. It may not feel like it, and we're right there with you. And like, man, I don't feel like I'm getting anything back here. And you can't hang out there forever. But I really want to impart this to you, that it does make a difference. Even if things aren't being said, it's a different experience than what has always taken place. And that can't be underrated. It's going to be noticed, even if there aren't words said. Mm-hmm. It really is how it, because we've had people tell us that. Share that with us when we've encourage them and coach them to just step in this way. You can always go back to how we were doing it, to be fair. We always can. And it's hard. It's difficult work, especially if we feel like we're the one carrying all the load. It's a lot of load, but it does make a difference.
Yeah. And I don't know, I feel really inspired to just give a step by step, and then we'll move on, because I really want you, listener, to be able to have the basic fundamentals to actually start, if you choose right now or tomorrow, practicing this in your daily life. And it's so subtle, but so important. So the first thing is check in with yourself about what your capacity is. Like literally just make a point of checking in with yourself throughout the day. Where's my emotional capacity right now? Am I feeling good? Do I feel like I have space? Or do I feel like I'm right at the edge? And we know those things about ourselves, but it's amazing how we don't even think to check in with that, because that's going to be your guide. Before you step into taking more on, check in with that. Disclose that. Get better at disclosing, whoa, I'm really at capacity right now. Use this language. Make it a part of your life. Put it in practice. Tell your kids, tell your partner, I'm realizing we have emotional capacity. I never knew that. Let's check in about that. You could even put it on a scale from like 1 to 5. 5 means I'm maxed. 1 is like, yeah, I feel it, but it's okay. I'm good. When it comes to having conversations, we're going to have the person who has the capacity listen first. Because if you don't have the capacity, then you're not going to have any hope in listening. And that's why you have to disclose, I'm at capacity. I'm sorry. I'm not fit to have a conversation right now. I have no capacity to listen. I can't hold the tension at all. And that's what I need to do in a listening position. So I've got to build this awareness. I've got to practice just making an intentional point of checking in. Where am I? Not right or wrong or good or bad. Just create an awareness about it, because it's these little subtle distinctions that we need to get more in tune with. And then this is going to be the hard one. You thought that one was the challenge? No, this one is right here. When you're spinning up, you need to practice slowing down. And there's lots of little ways that we can do this. But some of the easy ways is when you're in traffic and you're speeding up, challenge yourself to slow down. Challenge the thinking, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And challenge the breathing in your body. Like intentionally slow your breathing down and think, I'm going to get there. It's going to be okay. I'll work it out. Like we've got to develop this language internally for ourselves too. And when I see something that is triggering me on social media, right? It's a great time. Anytime I feel that spike, I want to practice just pausing it and going the other direction. If I'm rushing out of the house, because I feel like I'm late, I'm going to challenge myself to sit down on the couch for 10 or 20, 30 seconds to remind myself I'm going to be okay. I need to practice going the other way so that when it really counts, when it's really important, I know I have the capacity to hold that tension. So those are just some really easy day by day ways. Before you say something, count to 5. Just count to 5 and practice waiting and pausing for a moment. Not because you're going to say anything horrific, but just because it's a practice.
Another one I would say is if you're in a conversation with someone and you know that they've said something wrong, wait until they're finished saying everything before you correct them. Mm-hmm. But that's a really good way to hold tension because you can feel the uncomfortableness of knowing, even if they got a fact wrong or something, just wait till they're done speaking. And then you can say, hey, I just wanted to let you know this was, it's, mm-hmm. But we feel uncomfortable in our bodies when you're listening and someone has made a mistake, but that is a really good way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I mean, and just notice there's the tension again. There's mm-hmm. tension when I see something spike, or trigger me on social media. There's the tension when I'm running late or somebody cuts me off on my way to work. And there's tension when I'm waiting and I don't feel like I should be waiting, or my pictures aren't loading, or my computer's acting whack, or you've just stormed in the house and I'm making up all kinds of things about why you just did that. Right?
Well, everything we've shared, think about it. It's funny. We think that we're already at our capacity and we think speed things up is going to bring us some calm. I mean, it's quite funny when you think about it, when you're calm and objective. No, we have to do everything we can to slow, especially our mind. We have to equalize our mind to where we want to go. And you're not going to outrun it. I mean, and man, we think we can. And I'm the poster child for that. So slow yourself down. And it doesn't take much. We know scientifically just some oxygenation will be an amazing improvement. But again, because this has happened, I know we've been repetitive here, but think about it. We are all going at warp speed capacity our lives now in every regard. And we're really not designed for this. So it really is important for all of us to take some self-care here, especially emotional self-care. Really, really, this is important. Mm-hmm. All of us.
Sit down and take 5 deep breaths before you allow yourself to go. And I tell you what, that is your 10-second plank.
Well, you'll lower your blood pressure. Take your blood pressure and then do that, and it will be lower.
And to your point, if we spin up with it in our effort to alleviate the tension, what's going to happen is we're going to spin up with it.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're guaranteed to be at capacity and lose it. Like, it's amazing how if we get on that train, it's going to take us places. And so we've got to practice holding that tension. And we're not going to ever do it perfect.
No.
And this is a practice. This is a verb thing. Emotional regulation is something that I get better at by understanding what to do in those moments. But it's still, again, a verb, like cooking. Just because I made a great dish yesterday doesn't mean I'm going to make a great one today.
Makes me think about, we're going to go into the other lane of the freeway. There's going to be that wonderful soul that's going a lot slower than he or should be going. And they're in there. Why? Because God, Universe, Spirit has put them in there to slow your ass down. Like, oh my God, why are they in the left lane?
We know why patience is a virtue, because all of this patience is actually the practice of slowing down the tension. And that's what's going to give us the relief that we're looking for, right? But we don't know that. And so we tend to just go with it, with the flow of the spinning up, which just creates more escalation of everything. Now I'm literally raising my hand and saying, I'm going to lose my shit, right? Because I'm never going to get ahead of it anyway. And the more I stay in that place, the more I'm going to spin up. So my counterbalance has to be to slow down and pause and breathe. Your breath is a very powerful tool for you to slow down your heart rate and slow down your mind.
Well, we know this too, that all the studies tell you when we're really amped up, we're shallow breathing, like we're barely even bringing any oxygen in. I mean, that's proven. So we have to just open it up. Let the O2 in, baby.
Just so you know, listener, if we ever get the opportunity, which I hope we will, to meet in person, you're not going to get within a foot of me, and I'm going to be hugging you, just so you know. And I love that you brought that up, because, I'll give my clients a hug, and it's amazing how often I have to say, breathe, because they're literally not breathing.
Really?
I've got my arms around them. It's just
tiny little baby breaths.
It's just breathe, take a breath. Like, that's how we can start being more conscious about alleviating the tension that you so are living in right now. And then the last piece that I would add on to that is already something that we've touched on, but getting more familiar with the wants, like building a repertoire of things that would remedy or ease the tension in these moments, these acute moments. And if you'll start collecting them, like remedies we do for the cold and a flu and a sprained ankle and an upset stomach and a headache and a pimple on my face, well, then you're going to have it on board when you need it. And then I'm going to speak to those. But I want you to see we can't even really get there until we get these first two kind of working. I have to have the awareness, and I have to have the ability to slow down.
I was struck on social media this week by a person who was just complaining about the state of the world, and they were specifically speaking to the Democrat politicians, but it could apply to anybody. They were saying, could you please stop fucking harping on the problems and tell us the things that you're proposing for the solutions? Mm-hmm. And I laughed, because I'm like, wow, that's such a common thing we talk about in our work. We always tell people to stop focusing on the problem, but it really struck me that even in every area of our life, it's not just our relationships. It's drilled into us that we need to talk about the problem and obsess about the problem and figure out all the aspects of the problem. We're never solutions forward. We're never like, yeah, this is the problem, but here's what we should do instead.
It's so true. And if we don't have a solution, then there's nowhere to go. Yeah. We can't travel to a new place.
And then there's nothing to like strive for. There's nothing to reach for.
Well, there's nothing to create or imagine or problem solve, because we just keep grinding through the problem. It doesn't take us anywhere. And that's usually how we communicate right now, is we're just taking out all of this frustration on each other and the world around us, because we really don't have the words to pursue or explore possible solutions. And if everybody was to put their ideas and what they did want in the pot, well, then just think about the beauty of how that expands possibilities. I may not have the answer, but maybe some of the ideas I have are combined with you, and we've got a whole nother great idea that we didn't even think of on our own.
Yeah, no, we hear all the time when we work, gosh, Tom, Stacey, I don't know. All I know is what I don't want. And again, that's very common. So you can just list your don't wants, and then you can just have them down and then just take the exact opposite. We do this a lot in our workshops and our cohorts and things. It really, no problem. So just whatever you don't want, just take the exact opposite of that. Now you have the do want.
And your brain, I'm just going to warn you, your brain is going to feel like it is like gear shifting really hard.
Yes.
Clunk, you got transmission problems. Clunk, clunk.
But don't feel this is very normal for us because we do this a lot in our work. And so no problem. Just list what you don't want. Oh, I can tell you, I got the whole beautiful. Put them down on the paper and then just create equal time and like say, at least give it equal airtime. And okay, now what is the opposite? That's what you do want. And then start learning and practicing, focusing on that.
Begin with awareness. And then the next step would be the slowing down and the pausing, and then start building this repertoire of wants that we can talk about instead of the problem. When emotions are high, communication is near impossible for us. Mm-hmm. Our logic gets hijacked. Literally, it turns off. In our defensiveness turns on.
Oh boy, that's true.
The body then moves into protection or fight mode, fight or flight mode. And so you can start to see it's not disingenuous that we find ourselves in these fights. It's just we don't understand how we as human beings operate. So in listening for communication, forget about it. You're not going to be in a place where you're going to want to listen. And that understanding that we're trying to pursue, the understanding of me first, and then the understanding of you can forget about all of that too. Well, our willingness to hear a differing point of view is not even possible in those places and spaces.
I mean, we're not even really given an opportunity for success because it takes a lot. It takes a lot for us to be a good listener. I mean, to truly, it takes a lot out of us. So if we're not have any capacity, there's not even a chance anyway. I mean, we're not even given a prayer out of the gate. Mm-hmm. And that's why it doesn't go well right out of the gate.
So that skill, that one right there, that is what creates emotional safety. The thing that you've got to have in order for everybody to share vulnerably what they're experiencing, what they want, what they'd like to create, what they desire. And if I don't have that, that means that we don't have emotional regulation on board. And so everybody feels very attacked, very unsafe. And now everybody is very defensive. Okay. So that's where we always find ourselves in places and spaces where the connection that we once had has now fallen apart. And I'm seeing in this moment, we probably ought to do a whole episode on listening because, that's going to be what gets compromised in the whole thing. So how can we pursue understanding when there's no listener? How is it we can solve problems and change behaviors and experiences in our relationship if we don't have any ability to regulate ourselves?
Well, you've always said if two people are talking, what do we have?
A fight.
A fight.
You have a fight. If there's two people talking, then, we don't have a conversation. We have a fight brewing. I have to have a listener. So emotional regulation is the mother lode skill, right? Especially when it comes to human relationships and skills. It is the foundation that is needed, that we are all so taxed and wrestling with, more so now than ever. It used to be challenging. Now it feels almost overwhelming because we are overwhelmed and at capacity from the get-go. I wake up in the morning and I'm at capacity. I haven't even gone anywhere yet. I haven't gotten the kids up. I haven't gotten them to school. I haven't made my coffee. It hasn't spilled out on my cup yet. If the kids, they're going to throw a fit and I spill my coffee and the filter smashes in when my pour over, I'm not even out the door and I'm already shocked. It's over. And so be mindful of those things that you are doing that compromises your emotional capacity. Remember, our emotional sense of well-being is like spending money. I can bet it all on roulette. I got a 50-50 chance of making it through the day. Or I can be very wise about where I spend it and where I place it, my focus, my experiences, my intentions. And we all probably need to take a look at that and do a better job, just because we have just allowed ourselves, myself included, be soaked up in all of these other places without even realizing it. And so I roll over, pick up my phone in the morning, and I've shot my allotment for the day, right? I'm spent. I'm already redlining. And so when I roll over and you say something to me, I spout off something because I can't hold the tension anymore. We're off to the races. And it's going to make for a day where I am over capacity till I turn it off and go to bed. So these are important things to think about. Emotional awareness happens inside of you. And we have to create an awareness about that so that we can make these discerning choices when and where we need them. And that ability to slow yourself down when emotions start rising, right? And understand well enough yourself so that you know what it is you want to pursue or need, or that will ease this, that you could potentially get support from others around. If we're not in a place to do that, then we're going to be such a hot mess. And I want you to see there's nothing malicious or disingenuous about it. It's what happens to us all as human beings, right? I can't emphasize it enough, but if we don't do this, then we actually become more sensitive and more escalated, and the life that we live becomes more and more of a problem as we spin faster and faster.
Well, it just builds on itself. It doesn't dissipate.
Yes.
That's the thing. I mean,
Yes.
so it just will continually to build and build on itself. So it really is, you can tell we're very, very passionate about this, and it's very important for all of us. It really is.
Yeah. So if by chance you notice that you're in a place where you are feeling unstable and there is no clarity to be had, and that you are riding at this threshold of capacity, we need moments of steadiness that keep us safe in this experience. And so if this is in a place where you are, please reach out and create a clarity call. I can promise you that in this clarity call, Tom is very good at helping you slow down and breathe and feel heard, that wherever you are and whatever is going on, it's going to be okay. Like we can slow down and we can catch our breath for a minute and alleviate some of this emotional tension. And then more importantly, help you find the clarity of what your next step is. That's what these clarity calls are for. They're both a contribution to society and the world at large right now. And they're also a place where, yes, you can explore maybe doing some deeper work with us if you choose to. But if you don't, that's okay too. If we could all just make a focused intention of emotionally doing a push-up when we really don't want to hold the tension anymore, think about the impact that we could have just on ourselves. And remember, I show up as good as I feel. And so that's going to ripple out into, yes, my family, but then yes, into my community. We all carry with us an essence in regards to where I'm living internally within myself. We can't get around that. We all have been the person in the room that is, spinning up uncontrollably and nobody feels safe enough to approach you. We've experienced people that we don't feel safe enough to approach. We sense that they're just such a hot mess. It's not safe. Like anything could just tip them over the edge.
Almost as if they're wearing a no trespass sign.
Yes. So It is something that we hope you'll take advantage of as our contribution to you. But yes, I would encourage you that if you resonate with what you experience, that you consider going deeper as well. And you can schedule that clarity call by going to stacybartley.com / apply.
You betcha.
Again, it's not about fixing you, your partner. It's about understanding the behavior patterns that you're in and identifying the most useful next skill to practice to create better outcomes. It's probably going to include some emotional push-ups. I'm just saying. So let's talk about a little fun, shall we? Let's talk about a little follow the fun here. I took that association with the plank.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, it would be really fun if we actually invited you, listener, to do a plank so that you could have a real experience of the tension. As well as while you're in that plank, think about some of the emotional tension that you don't give voice to. Some examples are, I feel unseen or unheard. I'm afraid to leave. I'm afraid to bring this up. I want more closeness, but I don't know how to ask for it. While you're in the plank. And now you can say it out loud if you want to, or you can just think about it as a place to focus to see how long you can actually hold a plank. And then it might be fun for you to share, how did you do? Did you hold the plank for Did you knock off 5 minutes? Did you notice what happened to you?
No, I can't.
It sounds like so little, like I can do anything for 5 minutes. Well, that's a lot of tension. So challenge yourself there, because that is such a great representation of what it feels like to actually hold the emotional tension as well. DM us and tell us how you did holding your plank physically and emotionally. I think that's a great way to bring some awareness to what we're talking about, and you can start to have a real experience physically and mentally about this tension that we're talking about. And our song for today is by Ava Holloway, You Are My Safe Place. I chose it because it's really why we would want to do this for ourselves and the people around us. We want to be that safe place. We all want a safe place, don't we? Mm-hmm. We all want a person who feels like a safe person. And sometimes we forget that I can create that safe place too. I can create it for myself, and I can create it for the people around me. And it's okay for those around you to be asked to create it for you in return. We need more safe places. We really do, within ourselves and within our world right now. So enjoy it. It's a beautiful soul song, which by now, if you listen to any of our songs, you know that that's my jam. I love some good soul, R&B, but she has a beautiful voice, and the song is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for being here inside the Love Shack with us today. And if this conversation moved you, helped you feel a little more seen, or gave you something to think about, please consider sharing it with somebody that you care about too. This and conversations are so important right now. And this is how our podcast grows too, human to human. And if it's helped you personally, please also consider leaving us a review. We would so appreciate that. Remember, love isn't enough, but skills are. Remember to learn them, practice them, and live them. Bye-bye for now.
All right, it's time to leave the Love Shack. But before we part ways, we want you to know our door is always open, and we'll leave the porch light on, ready to welcome you back whenever you need a dose of relationship wisdom. For more resources and tools, visit us at loveshacklive.com to dive deeper into the topics we've explored and find additional support for your relationship journey. Stay connected by subscribing to our podcast. Thank you for being part of our Love Shack Live community.